Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Partner Connect by Advisorkhoj. Today in Partner Connect, our guest is Miss Bhargavi Boddapaty from Hyderabad, representing from Millennium Finance. So, Bhargavi, welcome to Partner Connect by Advisorkhoj.
Thank you so much, Rin. Thank you so much for having me today.
Our pleasure. So, in this series, Bhargavi, what we do is that we reach out to our partners like you and understand that what motivated them to join, start as a mutual fund distributor, what's their background, etc. So what was your motivation which drove you to join your father's business and become a mutual fund distributor?
So my journey started very early on, way back in my childhood, I should say. My father was already working in investment management and wealth management. So we talk about the markets, the economy, money very casually at home. This was a dinner table conversation like any other.
Uh-huh.
Maybe because of that or otherwise, by the time I was going to college, I knew I wanted to study economics. I did my BA economics from SRCC Delhi. Then I
Uh-huh.
went to do my master's in financial economics from Oxford University. I worked outside for a while and eventually joined my father's business. So when I first started is working with him, I wasn't sure I'd stick around for this long. Actually, I didn't know this would be my career. Uh, but honestly, uh, it is such a gratifying profession because it brings together two worlds very beautifully. It's very intellectually stimulating. You're talking to super smart people every day, interacting with them, learning from them on the one hand. And on the other hand, it's also deeply personal because you're working very closely with families, helping them navigate their financial decisions and building relationships that actually last a lifetime. And very few other professions give you a chance to
Right.
bring these two together in equal measure.
Absolutely.
And so also, I must mention something else here because we're talking about my journey. So when I first started working and I got my first salary when I was 22 maybe,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know much about mutual funds. I didn't know where to invest, but I did know that I had to invest somewhere. Know that like I knew if I was working my money had to work harder. And I owe a lot of this to uh, the upbringing I had. Maybe
Mm.
because, money was casually discussed and I knew how to think about money by the time I had some money in my hand.
Sure, sure.
And that's why strongly, I mean, it means a lot to me. And I encourage a lot of people to have these conversations at home with their children, talking about money in an age appropriate manner. Just start with talking about savings, investing, make it a conversation that that they grow up with.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very true. Very true. So tell me, becoming a mutual fund distributor wouldn't have come easy to you, correct? Because, as a lady, and this particular business, is a male dominated sort of business. So what challenges did you come across when you decided, okay, I'm going to become a mutual fund distributor? And how did you overcome those challenges?
No, it's very true. Actually, even today, in most rooms, I'm probably the only woman.
Huh.
I've gotten used to it now. I don't notice it as much, but I did notice it quite a bit early on. But the biggest learning for me was that building trust takes time, and that's completely okay. And, when initially I was meeting people that my father had worked with or my father had known for many, many years. Uh, but, when I went and met them, I did not expect them to immediately trust me the way they trusted my father. Trust has to be built one on one. It can't be transferred from one person to another. And that was going to take time, and I was completely okay with it. That said, there are some challenges. Building trust, building relationships can look a little different for women, right? There are social settings, there are networking events where I might not be present always. It could be that, that probably I would choose to be with my family at that hour instead of, working a certain time. Or it could also just be some social settings where it's still very male dominated,
Yes, true,
right?
true.
And so I understood and that this relationship building was going to take time. So I just focused on what was in my control. I went in exceptionally well prepared to every single meeting because that was the 1 hour I was going to get, and I had to make it count.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think that made all the difference, slowly but surely. And in fact, like if you think about it, when you're looking for a professional to work with, you want competence, you want responsiveness, you want integrity and trust, right? And that is gender agnostic in a certain sense. It's pretty they're universal principles. So I just gave it the time, honestly, and nothing else.
Excellent, wonderful. More power to you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Bhargavi, what all processes have you put in place, while inducting a client and doing a risk profiling and then putting across an asset allocation ahead?
Uh, so good advice always begins with good listening, right? That's where we all have to start. And the idea when we meet somebody for the first time, we're not trying to explain products to them, we're not trying to discuss market situation with them. We're just trying to understand the person sitting across the table from us. Uh, and the idea is that, you know, uh, we pay very close attention to everything they say, every single word, every concern they repeat. Sometimes it might seem very minor to us, but if they've said it, it really means something to them. It could
Yes.
be, some experiences from very early on in their investing journey, sometimes 20 years back. But, all of this plays a part in how somebody thinks about risk and the relationship with risk in general. We're also trying to understand their lifestyle, their family setup, and in fact, whenever appropriate, we encourage them to have the spouse join us for the meeting because financial decisions have an impact on the entire family, for that matter. So,
So true.
and when we have both of them on board, it makes the journey much smoother. You don't have one person thinking differently and the other person having some other opinions of what needs to be done, and it in general makes the journey smoother. That said, of course, while gathering all of this information and understanding the client is very important, we're also very cautious about not overstepping and not
Hmm.
asking questions which we don't have any great purpose to, right? And I don't have to know their net worth on day one. I can live without it. I don't want to overstep. And we're very conscious about it. Our philosophy is to, I would say, ask selectively, but understand very deeply. Uh, and this kind of boils down into our risk profiling questionnaire as well. Over time, seeing people across multiple market cycles, we were able to distill all of our thinking into 6 simple questions.
Hmm.
And the goal of these questions is not just to basket them into, say, a conservative, moderate, or aggressive client, but it is to understand how they would react during times of extreme volatility, and also to understand if their expectations are aligned with market reality as well.
Absolutely true. Very important. Very important.
That's essentially like the goal of what we do on day one.
And I really like something what you said. It's not important for you to know their net worth on day one. You can live without it.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
that's a question, when you ask any client, they kind of get into their cocoon that why am I divulging so much of information on a day one of my meeting, right?
Correct.
I
Correct.
think that's brilliant what you just said. Send me some of the questions probably which have been thrown at you, while
Hmm.
you're inducting a client, or doing a risk profiling process. Any one question which come to your mind, which you
Yeah.
remember till date.
Well, a lot actually. So ultimately, I think everything we do boils down to one of two things, right? Either a client is very focused on the returns. Will I get 15, 20% on this? Or the other end of the spectrum is my capital safe?
Yes, yes.
And these are very frequent questions and also very genuine questions. I don't, while it might not be very simple for me to answer these questions in one word, but I truly understand where these questions are coming from. Essentially, what we do kind of boils down into balancing those two objectives of a client, the safety part of it and the growth part of it.
So true. So true. Absolutely. So tell me, what all products are you suggesting through Millennium Finance Limited platform? Are you or is just mutual funds? And also, what percentage, let's say, would you suggest in a client's portfolio the mutual funds allocation to be in, and why?
So we, along with mutual funds, we also suggest PMS, AIS, some international exposure to clients.
Okay.
But before I answer that question, I think it's also important to understand how our thinking starts. Like a client doesn't wake up one morning and say, I want a mutual fund. He wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be able to send my child to college. I want to be able
True.
to, retire comfortably. I want to be able to buy that house. And it starts there always. And mutual fund is one of the products that can solve these financial uh, goals for the client. And that said, of course, for our clients, mutual funds still uh, form a predominantly large part of their allocations, and rightly so, because they're unbelievably flexible, transparent, professionally managed, a lot of liquidity. You name it, they have it all. It's
True.
beautifully elegant structure, if you ask me.
Sure.
And in fact, not just my clients, I think if we to talk about my personal portfolio, I also have most of my personal savings in mutual funds, but I also have some allocation to AIS and some PMSs, some exposure to international equities through LRS. That's it. So I also have to mention that my children's portfolios are entirely in mutual funds because, for goals which are 20 years away, uh,
Huh.
at least mutual funds are the most simple and efficient structure. And I can't give a more thumping, uh, call than this, that my children's money is entirely in mutual funds.
So nice to hear that. So nice to hear that. I could see a lot of genuineness when you were saying that, that everything is the mutual funds and, there's no product which can be better than that. Fantastic. Fantastic. A lot of
Yes, of
inspiration
course,
between you.
but I must mention, so the reason again why
Huh.
we need to look at a few other products is also because there could be certain asset classes which are not available in
Yes.
mutual fund
Yes.
structure.
True. True.
Let's say an unlisted equity, an early stage investing, which might not be available in a mutual fund structure. And again, rightly so, that
Right. Right.
mutual fund solves a very specific need for the larger population. And for the more niche investing, there are other options. But core can always be in the mutual funds.
So in a very simplified manner, if I were to say that, in a thali, right? Mutual fund is the main product to consume and eat, and all other things are around it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's the core, that's the staple. So
Being a foodie, I had to put a thali in there. Okay, so tell me what else, in terms of the technical tools which you utilize, research tools will you utilize before you analyze, and you suggest, okay, this mutual fund or that mutual fund, etc. Are you very AMC specific? Are you fund manager specific? Are you brand conscious? Just trying to understand Bhargavi's thought process and the research tools which she utilizes.
absolutely. So product selection, of course, like we've discussed, comes much later in the chain than most people would assume. We're obviously starting with understanding the client, the asset allocation, and then we zoom out for a minute before we zoom back in. So we then zoom out to take a call on the broader market, broader economy in general. Then we're looking at where in the cycle we are. We're looking at what imminent risks we see that are going to play out in the next few months or next year or so. We try and form a macro view
Right.
before we again zoom back in. And then next step, I also personally, one of the tools I use is to just look at graphs. And I don't mean the short term ones. I like really, I feel I'm a visual thinker and a visual learner. I just like, superimposing multiple uh, ideas and just seeing what's moving when, how, just are trying to look out for trends and patterns. And, we all of this helps us kind of distill our thinking. It helps us ask the right questions. It helps
Right.
us shortlist also
Right.
and look at the right categories, because there are a lot of options in mutual funds. And
So true.
honestly, it is not humanly possible to look at every single one of them independently, if I have to be very, very honest. And the idea is to be able to shortlist and then focus on those, go into the
Sure.
specifics of those.
Sure.
That's what we do. And also the other thing is that data kind of tells you what's happened, but conversations tell you why, and which is exactly where we think that reaching out to fund managers and spending time with them, understanding their style, their thinking, their processes, their philosophy makes a lot of difference. And that's where the conviction comes from, not
Hmm.
just from the numbers. And like you said, so, once we've actually given the money, technically, the entire outcome is in their hands at that point.
Absolutely. So true. So true. So true.
Very,
Tell
very.
me, sorry. Yeah.
So, just another thing. So, I also feel that, because we're talking about products, but again, just to go back and reiterate that, you know, outcomes are largely defined by asset allocation first,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
then by product selection. And we're very aware of this. Irrespective of what fund you might put in, a 60% equity portfolio is going to behave differently from a 100% equity portfolio.
Absolutely.
And so we start there, and then we get to the product level thinking.
Oh, brilliant. Tell me something now. Equity, of course, everybody says, equity, equity, equity. That's the way the world goes, right? But uh, how important do you believe, sometimes a dynamic asset allocation, as we call it, the balanced advantage funds and debt funds, can also be very important in a client's portfolio? What's your view on that or thought on that?
Absolutely. Like we're a strong believer of asset allocation. And so we look at it. So once we fix our equity allocation, then we're looking at what we do with the rest of it.
Right, right,
And honestly, you know, uh, while there's no free lunch in, finance, diversification gets you somewhere there, right? You get very similar outcomes at much lower volatility. And
right.
I mean, why would you leave that on the table if it's a free lunch? So
True.
we believe in very diversified portfolios. And when I mean diversified, I don't just mean two different fund houses, but I actually mean two different asset classes or two or more. In fact, now, traditionally it was just an equity fixed income sort of thinking. Now there's equity fixed income, there's your international exposure, there's your unlisted equities, which behave differently, and there's gold and silver and commodities. And but the idea is to build a structure first and then slowly fill it with the products.
Right.
But we believe that diversification is fantastic.
Sure, sure. What do you believe is the growth for the mutual fund industry going ahead and SIPs as as a process of investing?
I am very optimistic about the future of the mutual fund industry. We're in the very, very early stages of growth. Uh, there's so many things going for us. There's this whole younger generation which seems to be ready to talk about uh, finances, and not wait until their 40s and 50s before they, accumulate a larger surplus. There's the technology just making investing very easy. Uh, and of course, credit to the mutual fund industry, I think, for promoting SIPs as a way to invest. Traditionally, I think Indians have always been great savers, but mutual fund industries actually help them channel those savings into financial assets. And but that said, again, my personal opinion on this is that it's also time for us to change these conversations a little. We've spoken a lot about SIPs, but I think it's also time we speak about SWPs. People who've managed to keep the discipline and accumulate money all along. You tell them what you can do with this accumulated wealth. You can tell them how you can uh, set up a passive income and finally, achieve financial freedom or to be able to do whatever they want to do. I feel that,
Right.
we're evolved enough to now slowly start speaking about the other side as well.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely. I so much agree because SWP is something, which is something is as important as an SIP that you build, 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 and then you enjoy the fruits of what SIPs you created. Absolutely. Uh, Bhargavi, how do you keep in touch with your clients? Is there any extra initiative you take to keep in touch with your clients? Are you doing any investor education as well? At,
So with clients, of course, we do our periodical reviews and the standard communication that goes out to them every month. But that said, I mean, if I had to measure our success in terms of, uh, you know, on this front, it would not be in terms of how many meetings we've done or in terms of how much communication I've sent their way. It'd rather be in terms of whether they feel more confident about their finances than they did last year, more informed than they did last year, and more in control of their financial life than they did last year. It is not about information overload, right? We're all suffering from that. I mean, there is just so much information around. The idea is to, again, just communicate what really matters. And on this one, I must say, like, I feel one of the greatest compliments I've personally received from a client is when she told me that at the end of a annual review meeting, I've had met her in the full year, end of 1 year, I just called and said, let's sit down for a review meeting. It's been a year. And end of that meeting, she said, I really like that you speak in a language that I understand.
Mhm.
And you don't bother me for too many meetings. You don't ask to meet like very often. And also the portfolio broadly behaves in the way you said it would. So I didn't really feel the need to even, like worry about it or reach out to you because broadly it's doing what you said it would. So I'm okay with it.
So
And
wonderful.
I feel like that was my greatest achievement in a certain sense, to have gotten that communication right. And
Super.
so that is on the client's front. Outside of that, I do like work with women forums very specifically uh, in matters of, financial freedom and financial independence and just understanding their finances in general. That's it. I've noticed that smaller group formats work way better than large seminars, in my
Yeah, right.
opinion, especially for me personally, because you're able to have conversations that are relevant to them, that really matter to them. I feel the idea, personally, for me, the success again is not in influencing the largest number of people, but to actually like make a difference for the people in the room. Because financial freedom and financial independence, all of these are not just about having the money. I think they're
Mm.
about having the confidence to make those decisions about that money. And
Very true.
the smaller group formats really, really help us facilitate that.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell me, through this Partner Connect, what message would you like to give to all the viewers listening to you about mutual fund investing?
So again, my personal money is there, my kids' money is there. It's the simplest and most efficient structure. I think that's a great place to start, and the sooner you start, the better. You can't learn and then just wait to learn, thinking once I learn this one, once I understand this, I'm going to make a beginning. Only when you make a beginning can you actually learn. It's just
Yeah,
like say going to the gym. You can't be like, I'll become a little fit and then I'll start the gym. Unless you start on day one, wherever you are, the journey is uh, just has to begin somewhere, and the sooner the better.
absolutely. Make day zero as your day one.
Day one, absolutely, absolutely.
That's very important. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, well, for our viewers, this is Miss Bhargavi Boddapaty from Millennium Finance Limited, Hyderabad, joining us and taking us through her wonderful journey. Bhargavi, thank you very much. I think I personally really, enjoyed this conversation with you today. And I think you spoke from your heart. I'm being honest, and I really think that mutual fund is something where you belong. So I think
That's a great compliment. Thank you so much, Suren.
and I think becoming a mutual fund distributor, I think is right course of action which you've taken. So what I could say is that wishing you the very best and more power to you.
Thank you, Suren. And thanks to Advisorkhoj. Actually, I've seen a lot of your other videos as well. And there's so much to learn for people in the industry. Or even if there's one single takeaway from today's meeting for somebody, I'd be immensely thrilled because there were so many takeaways for me from the other videos that I'd watched. And I really hope somebody gets something to take away from today's
Thank
chat.
you very much. Really appreciate your feedback and compliments. Thank you so much. Well, for our viewers, please hit that subscription button and subscribe to Advisor Code YouTube channel. It's very simple. You just have to click that buttons to continue getting alerted and receiving these wonderful updates. So thank you, Bhargavi. Thank you very much for joining in today.
Bye, Suren. See you.
Thank you. Thank you.